So I want to talk today about a framework that I've created that is all about how to empower community managers to build communities. How can you turn your network and your people, your amazing people that you're working with, how can you turn your organization not just into a community, into a movement, into something that is just scaling all the time and is a live organism that is changing and is evolving. Before I get started, I do want to kind of like share with you my story of why I believe so much in communities and in movements. So I started as a social activist, but like really radical one, I would say. And I actually got banned from the UN for a day after I protested with 150 Jewish students from around the world against pro-human rights and against Ahmadinejad. And it was a crazy thing. But what it taught me the most is that we were 150 people so committed to an idea, so willing to do anything it takes to promote human rights, but we were just not organized well enough. And that kind of like taught me that like if you have the right group of people, you need to give them all the tools and all the technologies and methodology that you can in order to turn them into a movement and to leverage that amazing power and motivation that they have. And that's why I left kind of like the social in this word and moved into tech because I understood that this is my way to make an impact is basically not to impact one organization, but to help any community organizer out there to do what they do best, which is to bring people together and to mobilize them into taking action. We since then grew. We have a lot of amazing customers, and I'm lucky that I'm influenced, a lot of those people and through my technology, through my product. But what I've learned, and this is what I want to share with you, because eventually it's all about the social impact that you're doing, is that there are 5 steps of creating a movement. I've seen it from anyone from like Salesforce and Microsoft doing it all the way to the United Nations, which are now, by the way, a customer, which is pretty funny. I never told them I got banned. I hope they never check the directory. So that's kind of like what I want to talk with you today about, like how do you harness the motivation and the power of any one of your individuals. So I need a few volunteers. I need to mobilize you a bit. I want like 3 people to just share with me what's their vision, what is their organization all about. Who's yeah.
Hi, morning. I'm Goni. I've set up a network of advisors in the Israeli civil service, advisors to the general directors. It's key positions that are in the decision making, in the center of decision making points, and they have a lot of influence. And part of their advantages is how well do they know their counterparts and peers in other ministries and authorities and Israeli governmental companies. And I've created a network of all these advisors in order to strengthen the interministerial work.
That's amazing.
Now, thank you. So, how the network is professional, strictly professional, and how do I make it to a community? I don't know, but it has a very good potential to grow.
And it has a really great potential to influence
Yes.
the country and more than that, right? The framework that you have, and you have like a canvas in front of you, is something we created that kind of like can take you through the journey of how to think about your community. And what you just described is your vision, right? Is your vision, and also the second part of like what is actually your. Where's my handout so I can look at it as well? No, just for a second, yeah. And then the potential programs. How do you want to make it happen? So, so the idea is, you have a vision, and you need to always start. It's okay, and you need to always start with a vision. Just like really think about that. Who wants else to share? What is this vision? And I will ask it also. I will add another question to that. How will the world look like after you accomplish your mission? Yeah.
So about 5 years ago, I launched a leadership training program for Iranian American Jews in Los Angeles. So we now have a community of about 70 people who've gone through, and creating a strong. The whole purpose of this community is to catalyze and create the change in the Iranian American Jewish community so that they participate more in the actual greater community that they're a part of. So what that looks like is having more young adults who are Iranian and Jewish on boards of organizations and leaders of organizations and working in those communities. And also we want to create a cohesive group and to give value to our alumni. So I guess that's why I came.
That's amazing, and it's kind of it. Whatever you mention is like the goal and what do you want to create after, like what do you want the word to look like after, is actually your why, and that why is not only important for you as a leader, it's important for your members. So that's like always should be like always ask yourself that question, like how the word looks like after I accomplish my goal, and then share that sentence, share that vision with your members at every given moment, because that's what would motivate them to be part of your network, to actually be active, to take more ownership. And that what also will make you wake up in the morning and say, this is why I'm working so fucking hard to get this done. So remember that. Now the entire canvas is all for you, like to actually write notes about like different things and different processes, and just to have the entire framework in your hands. Someone else wants to share the vision and the why. Why is this community organization
I can
so
speak of
important?
something. I guess I'm in a different stage because this is an idea I have that I want to create that doesn't exist right now. So that's why I came here also. There's in Jerusalem a lot of Ulim, people that come from all around the world, and I feel that they have a network, they don't have a community, and I want to create a type of community feeling for Ulim. Now the why is because I want Jerusalem to be more attractive to him, because I think that they help a lot in a lot of the greater problems that Jerusalem has, which the biggest of them is a demographic situation where a lot of productive young people leave Jerusalem, and actually Olim can help fight that because they bring also open-mindedness. A lot of them are not necessarily secular, but open to the secular world. They work, a lot of Jerusalemites don't work, etc. All of these things. So the goal is to make Jerusalem actually better as a whole, and the way is through this community of living.
That's first of all beautiful, and second of all, you just actually led it to like who will help you. So your audience is the Olim, like they are your community. But in order to get there, and you're in the idea stage, you need to identify how can you get there? Who are the people that can help you create this? And by saying the why, you actually like you can now think about who else cares about this. Who else wants Jerusalem to be more diverse? Those are your partners. Now, Martin Jr. Luther King said, uh, stress, I told you. Yeah. Uh, Opa, it sounds better. So he basically, and obviously that's like kind of like one of the fathers of the biggest movements and most impactful movements in the United States and the world. He knew the power of like many, just like what does it look like when I bring a lot of people together, and also what does it mean like when I unite them. And that's the most powerful force in history. And you know what? It's also the most powerful force in businesses today. Anywhere you look at, and you're right now, either you're in the stage of the idea or you have something running, you have a lot of resources. You have your donors to think about, you have your team members to think about, etc. But this is all about your partners, your community, because those are your real resource. This is the biggest resource you will ever have. It's your human resource, and it's a resource that is fully motivated to help you, and you need to continue leveraging that resource. So whenever you think about whatever goal you have, whatever vision you have, what's your why, always think about the fact that you have a team, you have budgets, maybe yes, maybe no, by the way, and that could also be a target for like getting all this running. And you have an audience, you have a market you want to serve, you want to improve Jerusalem. Then by asking what do you want to achieve and why, you're actually unlocking also who are the people that can help me. Like, would they be like just volunteers? Would they be like maybe government officials that care about that goal too? Would they be influencers in policy? So there is place. Yeah. So you could really find by like understanding what is your why and where do you want to get and who else cares about it. You can understand who is the community that can help you get there. And that's like a reverse engineering type of process that you need to do. You need to sit and think who else cares about my goal. and then understand that that's the most powerful resource you would ever have. And we've seen it like by the way, most organizations have like a few programs and a few different types of communities and sub communities. And that's also in your canvas. It's like, who are your members, right? Like, why do they care like about what you do? And then who are they? And we'll talk about it soon about recruiting and finding those people, building that identity. But when you're thinking about the community, when you're thinking about reaching your vision, building an amazing community, think about why, like, how do they share the same goal and what identifies them. So who here can tell me about like a few different groups that they have that help them reach their goal?
Well, we will have ROI one day.
I'll put you on the spot because I know. Sorry, I need help. How many people and how many groups help make Midburn what it is? Like volunteer groups.
I think, okay, so first of all, we have like multiple different subjects and criteria, and I think it's almost about 40 different groups of people. But what's interesting to see, and this is something new we've learned, is that the word community actually is an interpretation of many sub-communities. Like Midburn is one big community, but it's combined from many sub-communities. Artists, people from that interested in high tech and technology, writers, content suppliers. So I think that's the main issue about who helps you form the larger community. You need to nurture the sub-communities.
Yeah.
This is something that makes the community really stronger.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are trying to focus on the bigger picture of the community, and we don't know really how to respond because there's multiple voices coming up with the community. And when we dive into the sub-communities, you can actually nurture in a different kind of way each sub-community, which is great to build.
And that's like an overall, by the way, that's something that is across any community I've ever seen. It's never one community. It's always a microcosmos of a lot of small groups and a lot of different contributors, and that's part of like nurturing the talents that you have within your community. Like, look at the overall people that want to help you and understand who they are, what makes them special, what's their talent, why do they care, and build a group around that. So you could have a group of people that do all of the fire, like they have the fire department, and then you have the artists and the creatives, and you have the people that are basically just facilitators or artists. Like, take each one of them and think, how can they contribute? And just understand that this is an ecosystem. Just after a long time, this, like, you would be able to see it as like a big community. And it's kind of like, this is the diversity of your community. So let's talk for a moment. Like, you have that, and we'll talk soon about like how to identify the different programs. But I think that that's something you also can do by like just thinking about like what are also all the tasks that I need to do. One of the most challenging thing about building a community is how do you get them to participate, right? Like, if you just reach out now to someone that cares and he says, yeah, I really love Jerusalem and I want to make it more diverse, I like your idea, but like, how do you get him all the way to volunteering with you twice a week or bringing in people, going and telling other people about it? How do you really change that? And the idea is that, and that's a really famous concept, by the way, in community management, is there is the community commitment curve. So that's, I don't have the name here. I have an appendix at the end, so you can actually go to the resources. I will send it after our talk. But that's Thomas. This is actually the person that created all of Obama's campaigns. He's an amazing mobilizer. Like, he's one of the people that actually like was there even with Martin Luther King and like then with Obama. And what he understood is like there is like a curve, and you need to understand like from the moment that they meet you all the way to the moment in which they are like championing and taking a leadership role, how do you actually get them throughout the journey? And by the way, one of the most important things is that people will drop in different points, and that's totally fine. If you have 100 people and all of them heard about you, great. If you have 70 that actually registered, awesome. If you have 50 that came up to your event, or you know what, that shared your post on Facebook, or that shared a petition, that's amazing. That's a commitment that is, it's okay as an effort. I can, if I resonate with it, I will share it, right? But going outside, leaving my house, and going to an event to meet other random people and spending with them 5 days, that's tough, right? It's like that's basically higher on the commitment curve, and you'll probably get like a small percentage of people doing that. But then getting someone telling you after the event, I love this. Can I take part? Can I volunteer? Can I do something? That's like the highest level of it. So you always need to think about the commitment curve and the journey that your member goes through. And it's totally fine that people will drop in different portion of it. And we'll go through actually the journey later when we talk about operations. Now, so how do you do it? How do you get started, right? Like none of you here like stops at one city or 100 people. Like from hearing your stories, most of you are like pretty insane. And you have like global ideas and vision and you want to change the world. How do you get started? It's not just about one person. So this is a framework that is really known, like the snowflake model. And the snowflake model is all about self-organizing communities. Obviously, when we're a nonprofit or any other organization, by the way, businesses are adopting this now because they see that they can also not scale. Then you understand that it's not hierarchy. It's not like it's not the army. I cannot say to other people, what do you do? And then they would tell their people, et cetera, and then there will be a ripple effect. The ripple effect happens exactly like a stone in a lake, just starts as a circle. And then you need to understand that exactly like a snowflake, you have like different branches. So this is the snowflake, right? Like you have like someone in the middle, which is the organizer. You have champions. They have more champions. Then it grows and it grows and it grows. This is, by the way, a snapshot from Airbnb community. Obviously, they are also doing a political work in order to change policy for renting and subleasing. This is Megan. Megan is one girl, pretty awesome, I must say, in San Francisco. She's organizing thousands of people around the world. The way that she does it, she knows, let's say, only the first circle. She knows more than 4 people, right? But like, she knows her first circle, and she found her champions. And then they found their champion and all of that. So you need to always be thinking about that. Now, I want to ask you a question. Who here thinks that he's a leader?
What?
I'll raise my hand if others also do.
Who thinks that they are a leader?
Very good.
Okay. Everyone that thinks he's a leader, please stand up. I will actually ask that until everyone stands up. Yes. So the beautiful thing about community organizing is that anyone can be a leader. In this room, it's it's not even a question. It was just nice to actually get you to exercise a bit. You can sit. But that's the reality of community organizing. Anyone can be a leader. Anyone. So you are that unique snowflake. You are the first snowflake that creates a snowball and then they create a snowstorm. You're the first. And you're unique, and whatever talent you have, whatever vision you have is what will drive you forward. There is actually a part in the canvas that asks you, who are you as a leader? And what is your role as a leader? Not every leader is the same. Some are a symbol. Some are the one that are sharing the vision. Some are really like hustlers and organizers. Some are all about logistics. It's all good. But find who you are as a leader because you're the glue that puts this thing together. So that's one of the first things you need to think about. Who are you? And what is your role? Now, from taking it, so when I learned about the snowflake, I was like, that's super cool. But like, how do we turn it into a snowstorm? So I've seen a lot of communities, like everything from businesses to nonprofits. And I've seen that there are like 5 things that they all do. And I wanted to share that with you because I think that's an easy framework, like step by step that you can take yourself. So, and one of the other things that I've seen is that mostly when I meet community managers and organizers or any leader, they are overwhelmed. They have no clue how to get started. Or if they're in the middle, they see just a lot of challenges. But the idea is that, like, when I look at other professions, when I look at like product managers or designers, they know what's their workflow. They know how to start. They know how, like, there is a process, and I'm like really always interested to find like what makes me happy and like what makes me work in flow. So that's a really great TED talk. You should see it. It basically is all about like how do you become happy in what you do, and it's all about being in a state of flow. Yeah.
We're gonna get this
Yeah. So working in flow is all about like understanding just what are the steps to do it and like just getting into it. So when I saw that talk, I was like, I need community managers to be happy, right? Like they need, like, if they're happy, they have more motivation to do what they do. What will help them be happy is if they work in flow, if they know the process and they're just getting it done. And then I realized that there is no workflows for community managers. So I kind of like thought about what I know from all of the successful community managers, and I understood that they do work in a flow, just not determined. So I'm just sharing with you what other amazing people do and trying to put it in words. So that's the Snowball framework. Most frameworks look like pretty serious. I love, yeah. Well, I'm still a girl. Uh, so, um, so 5 steps. Recruiting. How do you get the right members, right? Like, so we started with a why. We started with like what motivates them, but how do you identify what is their talent, what they're all about, how can they contribute, and get them in. How do you actually get them in, right? It's also like you need to actually find them and recruit them. Training. How do you make sure that they are really successful? In order to be successful, they need to know what to do. They need to know what you expect from them. As a leader, you don't send anyone to the battlefield without knowing how to fight. So like teach them. And then it's all about the ongoing operations. I actually like to call it participation. I need to change this slide, but like it's all about participation. How do you ongoingly make sure that they still do what they need to do, which is really challenging. So that's the stage that we will talk the most about because it is taking the commitment curve and pushing all the activities in different orders and thinking how do you track and motivate them throughout the way. Oh, didn't finish the other two. Belonging. This is an important one because it's all about language. When some of you are talking about community, you think about like how do I create bonds between one another? How do I tie them to my brand, my vision? But the reality is that sometimes your community is a network of individuals that are connected to you. They are not yet interconnected. The most amazing moment and when the magic happens is when you turn your network into a community. Most likely it will happen, like let's say, you know what, all of us before we arrived to ROI, we were a network. We were part of something. We didn't know too much about one another. We were part of a network. And we were all connected to the hub, right? The main ship. But we were not connected to one another. And then they got us going in pods and circling and talking to one another, and all of a sudden ties are met, and all of a sudden we identify ourselves as ROI, as part of the ROI community, as part of the ROI family. It becomes part of our identity. It also connects us to one another. That's when community is being built. That's the belonging. And eventually scaling. In order to take this to another city, to take it to another level, you need more champions. You need more leaders. This is actually the moment in which this starts all over again. Because that you take those leaders and you get them to start their own communities. Okay. So I want to make this interactive. So whatever we talk about, like I will give you a few seconds to like share what you think that you can do, and also to write notes. So like you have your thoughts in one place. So recruiting is the first stage. How do you find the right members how do you find the artists? How do you find first of all, the olim, but also like the people that will volunteer, that care enough about this, right? Like how do you find the policymakers? You need to build a persona. It's like a job description. Like you seriously think about like, okay, who's the right person? He needs to be an artist. He probably lives in Florentine in Tel Aviv. He's a hipster from San Francisco. Like he cares about arts. He studied there. He knows how to do this. His skills are that. You have a job description. You have like what like key capabilities and everything. You really just build this out. It could be like 10 bullet points, and it could be like a full job description. Then you're thinking about like what motivates them. That's like the toughest question, right? Why would they do anything with me? And that's the point in which like you need to put yourself in their shoes. Most likely you are already in their shoes because you started with a vision, right? With your why. So start with the why and then think about like where are they in their life? Do they want to like grow professionally? Do they want to network? Do they want to learn something new? Do they just want to feel like they're part of something important? Each one of those is good enough. By the way, maybe sometimes they do want to get paid a bit, right? And that's also great. It's not a bad thing. You know, in our industry, sometimes it feels like a bad thing, but it's not. Like you should really think about what motivates them. And it's always, always a complex kind of answer. It's always a few things. Then, once you have a job description and you know what motivates them, go and understand exactly where do they hang out. Seriously. Offline, online, you need to be there. Maybe they read different blogs. Maybe they are in different channels on social media. Maybe they are going to certain meetups and events. Just be wherever they are and understand that, because that's actually where you will recruit them from. Maybe they're college students. So for example, a lot of the Olim, like they're right now like either in an army program or in like colleges. Like that's a place to find them. That's a place to meet them. That's a place when they also have the highest intent. And then you just do the quick thing of like actually putting up a registration form or putting also, by the way, at any given point, if you do something that they love, they probably will come across you as well. So always make sure to put a get involved button or keep, like just even say that. Just even say, if anyone wants to be involved, we have a lot of opportunities. Come to me. Here is my email. Better, here is the link. There are all the opportunities that you can get involved with. Just sign up. That's the moment in which you create a directory of people. You understand like who are those people and what do they want to be involved with, and that's kind of like where it starts.
Want some old questions or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you find that people actually take that action? Like, if it's a button on the website, do they fill out the form, or do you think people need to be asked to take on a role? Like,
It's both. It's really both. You never want to like not have like a call to action on your site or anywhere. Like you always want to open that because like people are looking for opportunities.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know, and like some people are more proactive.
Maybe like 1 out of 10 people clicks on it, but then they become your best account.
Yes, actually, they are the most active one because they are proactive by nature. But then some people are like more quiet, and then like you need to say that they're open, or you need to ask them. And you say, this is also part of a leader. It's kind of like a teacher. Like you identify something in someone, and you're like, I see you're really good with this. Like, what do you think? I have this open position. Would you like to try? And like you see how they react to it. So it's really both, but always open a gateway for them. And so who can share like a recruiting process or like a unique persona that they have in their community and they're managing, or like someone that you think that you will want to recruit? Yeah.
So we have a co-working space. Like we're really looking for, sort of the ideal person would be a Jewish person who's looking for a unique way to engage the community, who is grassroots efforts, who's looking for a place to work out of where they can bounce ideas off their peers.
That's awesome. Okay. Where do you think that you can find them?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. They're not in San Diego, so if anyone wants to come to San Diego, we would love to have you. But maybe online, in like Facebook groups or going to conferences, like, going to professional development things or networking.
Yeah.
Especially in the young adult things in San Diego.
Yeah. So first of all, young adults groups, right? So like any young adult group, online, offline, that's already like your point to start. Then you ask those people, you meet them, and then you ask them like, what else do you read? Like you really like go and like just ask them everything, like to know more. And like you will find that one person would say, actually I followed that hashtag on Twitter, or the other one would say, we have a WhatsApp Slack group, something like that. Like you will find more places, and like those places could be enough to start with your first 10 or 20, then it continue growing. So that's kind of like how you get started. Okay, so training. I think that's very overlooked a lot of times, and it's actually the most important part. It's a part that establishes, like, would people go through the entire commitment curve? Would they be successful? Would they feel that they know what they're doing? It also establishes trust in the organization and trust in you. Because if you don't train them, if you don't tell them what to expect and just throw them into the water, what happens is that they say like, "Ah, I got into this organization," and they're like, they don't know what they're doing. Maybe you do know, but like they don't know that you do. So like, just really think about like their first experience. Yesterday, I talked with Yaniv from that he's organizing all the journeys here, like a lot of the trips, and I asked him like, how do you create a really great experience? He said the first thing I do is I set up expectations. When we got here for, beside all of the emails that we got before, when we got here for the first day, we got like a plan, what should we do, how do we do it, and we also got an emotional setting of expectations. Jordan stood up there and it was all about like, get out of your comfort zone. It's all about you. You need to talk with one another. You need to do this. You need to do that. It's setting expectations to what will make us successful. And that's something that is really critical in every point of what you do. It's like, it's all about like, just think about their journey, their eyes. How do they feel this first moment that they come across your organization? Make yourself look like an expert. So there are a bunch of things that you can do, and it's actually most like you need to ask yourself what would make them successful, what information do you need to share with them, and then to just go ahead and create the content. Maybe the content would be like a phone call with you because it's a small group of people in a meeting. Maybe you start scaling and now you need like a post or the first email or a playbook. There are a bunch of ideas. You could also like have like the first meeting all together, like online or offline. There is like a really cool checklist here. This is actually a mix between our checklist, like of Mobilize, and Evernote checklist, how they organize their community. And there's like tons of stuff you can do. Videos, checklists, role description, how-to guides, webinars, events, everything you can imagine. And you don't need to do all of it, so don't get overwhelmed. Sometimes you do just one thing, sometimes two. Just look at it and get inspiration. Like whatever is easier for you, just get started. Yeah. Oh. Let's start getting faster. Okay. Cool. So all about participation. This is, I think, the hardest part. So how do you actually get your community to continuously engage with you? How many of you experience that, like, everyone are excited in the first week, and then no one talks to you after a month? Yep, that's super painful, I know. That's what happens to any community ever, so at least know that this is, like, Sarat Rabim, like, it happens. Not anymore. Here it stops. The revolution begins. Yes. So it's all about like how do you set expectations, but also how do you continue engaging and mobilizing them. And that's the point in which you need to understand. And we'll talk soon about the commitment curve. But like you need to understand what are the activities, how do you track those activities, and how do you communicate with them in an ongoing way to make sure that you don't lose their attention. Today's world is pretty hectic. You have a lot on your mind. Most likely those people, and that's the entire thing about a community, they have a day job, they have other things that they do. You're not on top of their mind the entire time. But if you're what makes them feel happy, if you're what they are committed to because of your vision, which is usually the most important thing in their life, sometimes a lot more than their own work, then if you are what will get them to their professional growth that they're looking for, then you can actually be on top of their priority list. You just need to continue communicating with them. And that's why, like, after building your activities, you need to also start thinking about your communication plan. And communication is key. So, like, you remember how many emails did we get from Ellie before we got here? Wow, guys, you really remember.
On always kind of 3 a.m. in Australia.
Same.
When I wake up
Same. But you know what? Probably some of you read it immediately when it got there. Most likely, some of you read it on the flight here. For sure I did. Now, that's okay because I had the information available for me when I needed it. And the thing is that right now I'm being communicated every second for like what's going to happen right now. So just remember that you need like to have like two streams of communication. One is updates and announcements. What is going on with the program? What's going on with the vision? What's going on with the organization? What's happening? Critical information that they need to know, like basic stuff, right? Like keep them in the know. The other thing, inspiration, motivation, activation. So you need to think about like small activities that they can take. Like here is an opportunity to get engaged this week. Here is an event that you should go next week. Here is something. You always need to think about small bites of things. So that comes back into by the way, one thing that like is important, and I won't spend a lot of time on it, is like you also need to think about the third layer, which is supporting them. Besides like just keeping them in the know and activating them, which is the most important thing, you also need to give them a channel so that they can actually get your support in an ongoing way from one another, from you, one-on-one, whatever you want, but just make sure that you're there for them. So this is the communication, the community commitment curve. And the idea is like start breaking down, like list all the activities that they can do. Petition, come to an event, rally people, go to a process, whatever it is, just build a list. Now start basically saying like high engagement to low engagement and start ranking those. Now each one of those will have different training, like really mini training, and it'll also have different communication patterns. Like how often do I ask them? How often do I check in? What do I check in? Do I need to share ideas? Like let's say that like host a meeting. That's a lot of work. I need to give them ideas. If they need to host a meeting every month, I need to give them inspiration. Look at that meeting that the guy in Chicago did. And I also need to give them new ideas. And so I inspire them and I give them new ideas. Here is a new speaker. Here is a new person that you should check. Here's a new topic that you should engage in. Here's a fun swag that you can give. Now, belonging. So we talked about motives, and that's a point in which you go back to the motives, and that's part of the mobilization because it's kind of like you give, you take, you give, you take. That's community, and everyone are giving, but you like need to make sure that they are growing. If you focus on them, they will continue to focus on you. And there are a few ways to do that. So there are things that are internal, like professional growth, the vision, the sense of purpose, all of those things that you need to, like that's part of communications, parts of events. There's belonging, getting to know one another. Like after this week, I'll for sure want to be more involved because like I love this community and I feel part of it. It feels like it's part of me. It helps me as a person, as a professional. So I want to have like those reminders in my day-to-day life. But you also want to make sure that like you're connecting them to your brand, so to your vision. So maybe you are sharing swag. Right? Like when I will sit in San Francisco and I will like want to like take a sip and I was like, oh, memories. Like it happens. It really is the way that people are engaged in things. Yeah. Oh, okay. No. Okay. Okay. Sorry. It's a total like it's a slang. It's like total like a tech term. I even think it's stuff we all get. Giveaways. Yeah. Fine. Here. Oh, cool. You see, you got something out of this. So, but you need to basically just think about all the small things that make them feel special. A lot of times, by the way, for professional growth, maybe you want to give them a certification, right? Like if they get out with a certification, or if they get out with like an idea of like a network, that they know that there are people with different capabilities that they can reach out later. Those are different things. Like I remember myself doing like at least 4 programs in order to get a certification as a diplomat. Not using it today. But I did it because like at that time, that's what I wanted to do. So I engaged as a student in a lot of those programs. So just think about all the stuff that like is really important. Invest in them. Make sure that every activity that they do is making them grow, that they see how they're learning. That's also part of the communication plan. A lot of it, by the way, is events. Like just something about online and offline event just makes you connect to people and have great memories. So scaling. Um, so it's that I said at the beginning, it's kind of meta, right? Like it's like the scaling is like creating a sub community within a community. It's like it's the ripple effect. But you would see that you will have leaders within your community. You would have people that want to take more action. They want to do more. They care more. I talked last week with WordPress. You probably know them as the website like building tool. They are one of the most amazing communities out there. There are like tens of thousands of people that are involved in building this. So when I talked to their head of community, she's told me we have a rule. No participant can lead a hackathon or a meetup for more than 2 years. And then she stated, which was pretty exciting for me because this is my mission and vision. She said, "We believe that anyone can be a leader." So after I like took a few moments to like really thrive, I basically understood like yes, she exactly looked at it this way because she says like if I know that in 2 years I'm not doing this anymore, I will start building the leadership. I will start seeing a member and kind of like pulling them in to be an active participant. So that's what you need to be thinking about. Like, who are those people that like can actually take more leadership? By the way, the top performers and top participants are not always your leaders. Just keep that in mind. If they're top performers, they might just go and organize more stuff, and you want to do that. But like, they're not always your top leaders. The top leaders are someone that can carry that, can organize it. He's the next snowflake. So identify those people, build a program for them, and then it starts again. Train them, communicate with them, give them all the tools, and it continues. That's how. That's the moment in which like you really know that you're scaling. You really know that you're growing. A lot of times will be chapter leaders, and it will be like execs and experts and all that. Champions, give them that power, and you can see your organization really, really, really growing. I love this quote, by the way. Leaders don't create followers, they create more leaders. In the era of social media, that's so strong. We all like everything, but do we actually commit to anything? So just create leadership. That will make you just a much more impactful person. So we created your canvas. You have that. Take it with you. I will also send it later. But the idea is that you have all the steps that you need. So we talked about the vision, the why. Why are you doing this? Why is this important for the world? How will the world look like after you accomplish your mission? Then you think about like who else cares about it and how can they contribute? And then you build your programs in subgroups because it's an ecosystem. Then you think about yourself. Where am I in all of this? What is my role? What can I give? And then it's all about like your members. Who are they? What can they give? Where do I find them? And then you recruit them, you train them, right? All of the key activities. Just write all of this down, and you probably will take small parts of it, but like that will kind of like help you think about this throughout the entire journey of it.